Good morning, dear students of class 12th. I welcome you all in this online class. Today we are going to take up a lesson titled Leh, written by Andrew Harvey. It is the fourth lesson in your 12th standard English book. The title Leh is very popular to us. We are very well aware of the place and the name. Dear students, as we all know that Leh is the largest town in the Union Territory of Ladakh. At the same place, it is presently the headquarters of the Union Territory. And you must be aware that our elders, our relatives, they usually visit Leh for the purpose of catching a flight or some medical issues. And after the city of Srinagar, Leh is the next much visited place for the Kargilis. Today the topic we are taking, the lesson titled Leh. It is a very beautiful piece of prose written by Andrew Harvey. Andrew Harvey was a professor of econometrics at the University of Cambridge, and though he was born in South India, later he migrated to United States. Later he migrated and lived his life there. And he studied history at University of Oxford, and he says that he claims later in his life that the upbringing and the birth of his birth and upbringing in India shaped his vision, shaped his thoughts about religion, about communal harmony, about peace and tranquility. He was one of the youngest person to win the Fellow of All Souls College, which is one of the England's highest academic honors. Later on, after many years living in London and living in those developed countries, he was bored in his life. He was not having much relaxation and peace of mind. Therefore, he revisited his birthplace, revisited India in spiritual search, in spiritual solace. He thought of visiting India, which is known all over the world as a hub for meditation and those kind of things. Mr. Andrew Harvey had though studied many religions. He studied almost all the religions, whether it's Christianity, Buddhism and others, and he had written many books and edited also primarily on spiritual and religious subjects. Now coming back to the lesson, Leh. At the beginning of the lesson, we are presented some questions. These questions, in a form of questionnaire, in a form of series of questions, it tries to understand what the reader know about Leh. What is his basic knowledge? What is his basic understanding of the place titled Leh? After this, the beautiful piece of prose titled Leh, it begins with a dialogue. It begins with a question. The question is asked by an Italian girl to the narrator. She asks, I quote from the text, "What do you think of Leh?" unquote. She wants to know from the narrator what he thinks of Leh. What is Leh in his assumption? What is Leh for him? And when the narrator replies to her question, he says that I am fascinated by Leh. मुझे लेह बहुत अच्छा लगता है, बहुत हैरानकुन, बहुत ही बढ़िया लगता है. But to this the Italian girl replies, I quote, "You are fascinated? How stupid! There is nothing left in Leh," unquote. To the narrator's reply that he is fascinated by Leh, the girl is completely aghast. The girl is completely surprised. She says that no, this is sheer stupidity. Leh has nothing left now. Leh was popular, was once a much sorted out place. for tourists from abroad as well as India, but now it has no charm. It has nothing left now. Then the essay begins, and the essay in a way tries to answer this question, tries to give evidence to her reaction that visiting Leh is a stupid act, is a stupid thing. It tries to present many angles, many salient features of Leh as a place of meditation, as a place of solace, as a place of spiritual calmness. Okay, then we are like in the beginning that it is said that the question is asked that is there anything in Leh, left in Leh? Is there something still unexplored in Leh, still very particular about Leh? And the first point the essay presents to us is that Leh does have a charm. It has a special charm which is uncomparable to any other place on the earth, and that is that you have nothing to do. You are completely free as a tourist. You have no obligations, no reservation for dinner or parties, no daily routine jobs, nothing and nowhere to go. That makes you slow down. That starts a process of slow down, relaxation, and you can meditate as well as observe the whole world, meditate about all things under the sky. तो इस तरह का एक Leh presents an opportunity to a tourist to meditate, to think, to calm down, to relax. And in this place, the best thing, the most sought out, the most interesting and the most blissful thing to do in Leh is to visit it is Royal Palace, the palace which is so famous in the annals of history and so famous in all over the northern India. So visiting its palace is one of the best creative as well as entertaining activity a tourist can do. So, and the narrator, the essay presents to us various positions, various angles from which the palace can be looked at, palace can be observed. Like it could be observed in every angle and in every light, and every angle and every light presents a different facet of the royal palace. For example, if we look at the palace from below, in the full dazzle of the morning sun, it will present a different aspect. It will present a very blissful, it will present a very calming effect to the onlooker. Likewise, if one happens to look at the palace from one of its sides, as it ignites in the dark, it has a different charm. Similarly, if one on the road to Leh from Shankar looks at the palace from the back side, the palace has a different beauty, has a different quality, as it glows ghostly in the moonlight, and it's very difficult, hardly distinguishable from the dark rock upon which it's built. And as residents of Ladakh, we all are well aware that many palaces, many important destinations like royal buildings in Ladakh are built on hilltops, are built on higher altitudes, so that one, it will be visible to all the residents, all the citizens, and second, from such a height one can have an eye, one can be always aware of the coming enemy from a distant place. Similarly, Leh place is built on a hill, so looking from behind, it is very difficult to distinguish it from the hard black rock on which it is built. Similarly, the narrator tells us that while he is haggling means negotiating or discussing, like with the women folk who sell vegetable in the Leh market, while he is discussing, while he is negotiating about the price, and suddenly when he looks at the palace, suddenly when he happens to look at the palace, the last sun he happens to observe that the last sun catch the top of one of its balconies. जो डूबता सूरज की जो किरणें होती हैं वो एक बालकनी के किसी साइड को टच कर रहे होते हैं. तो this is also a beautiful aspect, a beautiful facet of the Leh Royal Palace. After that, the narrator continues talking about the Leh Palace and says that while he is walking in the town of Leh and talking to his friends, and in the evening when he, while doing so, look at the palace in the evening, and he sees that the moon has risen above the palace, and it looks like that the palace is wearing the moon as a वास्ट इयरिंग. इस तरह का एक फेमिनिन क्वालिटी देके, मतलब इस तरह का कुछ मून एक ऐसा शेप, एक ऐसा एंगल उस पैलेस को प्रेजेंट कर रहा था. ओके, सो अगेन ही कंटिन्यूज एंड सेज दैट व्हाइल वन इज वॉकिंग टू द लेब्रिंथीन स्ट्रीट्स, जो ले के जो गली कोचे हैं, जो बिल्कुल ही एक भूल भुलैया जैसे गली कोचे हैं, उनमें while walking the narrator again faces again sees again observes the one side of the palace which is very bare, clear and completely stark, and like the mountain it is completely barren. कुछ ज्यादा उसमें ग्रीनरी या कुछ ज्यादा कुछ है नहीं, but the angle, but the face, but the one wall or one aspect of the palace is visible to the narrator. This way the narrator tells us in the prose that the first thing and the most productive and most blissful thing to do in the Leh town is to visit its royal palace and observe it from many angles. After this, the narrator informs us that the royal family, especially the queen who used to live in this royal palace at Leh, now she lives at a smaller place at Stock, which is miles away from Leh. And he tells us, he shares his experience of visiting the Leh palace himself. He says that when I visited those empty and when I visited the palace of Leh, I found that the palace is empty and crumbling. It's almost weathered, is almost about to fall down. And when one walks through its large vacant rooms, what one encounters is large fat mice which came out in the thinking that they come out of the dark corners, that the person who is visiting this place, he or she might feed me, he or she might give me something to eat. इस तरह चूहे उसमें अभी दौड़ रहे हैं, बिल्कुल it's completely isolated, it's completely barren and it's completely vacant. After that the narrator shares with us his experience, his travel experience of visiting the palace named Stock, because he wants to in a way visit the royal family, and who knows that he want to have some questions, some discussions with them. So he shares with us his experience of traveling to Stock. He says that while I was traveling, while I was visiting Stock, there I found a suspension bridge which was huge, which was humongous, and which was spanning the whole Indus River. इतना लंबा चौड़ा बड़ा एक मैं suspension bridge से गुजरा. And from a distance the bridge was not looking like an mechanical bridge, but it was looking like a circus tent, because it was covered by flags of all colors. And as I was sitting behind the driver, who was a young Ladakhi, I couldn't suppress my curiosity, so I asked him, why are there so many prayer flags? This is a bridge, so why it is having so many prayer flags? And the reaction which the driver gave to him was like he was thinking that the person who is asking the question is mad, is a lunatic. वो बिल्कुल हमारे टूरिस्ट को, हमारे एंड्रू हार्वे को, नरेटर को एक पागल की तरह समझ रहे थे, ऐसा एक लुक दिया. Then the driver replied, if there were no prayer flags, the river would get angry. These prayer flags are there for with an intention that to appease, to please the river and the gods. If the river gets angry, it will flood, it will destroy our homes, it will destroy our agricultural land, etc., etc. That's why we have these prayer flags to appease the gods. After that, the driver continues and says that the bridge is nearly at the middle of the valley. And the second reason, he states the second reason for these prayer flags, that he says that in the bridge is positioned at such a strategic place that it is at the middle of the valley. So the wind blowing through the valley carries these prayers all over the country. And these prayer flags is having all sort of prayers, and the wind will carry all these prayers to the whole Ladakh region and whole country. That's why we are having these prayer flags on the bridge. So the narrator here finds such a discussion and such a scene very festive and exuberant. He is very excited, he is very happy and wants to sing. Then as the bus crosses the bridge, the narrator sees that the flags are flapping against the bus, and the driver smiles and shares a comment with the narrator. He says that every time whenever I cross the bridge, I say my holy prayers, because I know that this bridge is a holy place, this bridge is a holy destination. So I don't miss the opportunity. I always say my prayers while crossing this bridge. Then the narrator again unable to stop his curiosity, he asks, how old is the bridge? If the bridge is having such a religious and such a harmonious role and power in this valley, then how old is the bridge? To this, the driver, the young Ladakhi, is not able to answer. He doesn't know much about it. And so here the narrator tells us that it seems that these stupas and these kind of religious destinations have made Ladakh a shrine itself, एक तरह का दरगाह या हम जो अस्थाना बोलते हैं, एक स्पिरिचुअल एक जगह, एक ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ वर्शिप होल लद्दाख को बनाया है. Like these kind of bridges, these kind of prayer flags, having mantras, having dragons, having other religious writings on them had made Ladakh a place of worship. एक इसको बिल्कुल स्पिरिचुअल, एक रिलीजियस एंगल ऐसा प्रेजेंट किया है, हमारे राइटर को ऐसा लगता है. Then the narrator again asks the driver, does the bridge have its guardian Buddha? So is the bridge having some guardian? कोई इसका guardian है, कोई इसका रखवाला है? To this the driver is not able to give an answer, and he just smiles and continues his driving. After that, the narrator tells us that very soon he reached Stock and he saw the palace, the smaller palace of the Rani of Stock. But as soon as he was standing in front of him, he felt like not going inside. उसको अंदर जाने के, उन कमरों में जाने का बिल्कुल मन नहीं हुआ. Because he thought that in this light, with all the day before me, and instead of wandering and instead of exploring the beautiful scenic tourist destination, scenic this hillside or scenic place like Ladakh, he thought it's better to do that. It's better to explore Ladakh rather than visiting those small, those dingy rooms of the palace of Rani of Stock. So therefore he thought that he had this intention that I would walk through the mountains and completely alone, and I'll see the streams, I'll see the many natural beauties which Ladakh is bestowed of. So with these intentions, he completely rejects his rejects his plan, rejects his prior idea of visiting the Rani of Stock, and starts and decides to visit the countryside of Ladakh, visit the mountains and visit the valleys of Ladakh, and get something completely new to know of. So this was the first part of the lesson Leh, written by Andrew Harvey. We will continue the remaining portion of the lesson in the second video. Thank you so much for watching.